It's an honor to have you with us in Cheques Play. We were talking amongst ourselves here. We were talking about all the experience that you bring on board, and it's a very great honor for all of us to be in the presence of somebody like you, a good friend, a very highly qualified executive in the gaming industry, and you'll be our first guest here in Cheques Play. And as I said, it's a great honor to have you with us today. Welcome to Cheques Play.
Miguel, thank you. The honor is mine as well. It's a pleasure to join you, be with old friends and experts, such as yourselves. So I'm happy to help. I wish you good luck, much success. I love your idea, your concept. I think it's very needed at this time. There's not a lot of educational media that's available. I've tried over my 40 some odd years career to be a mentor to many of the young people in the industry that are just starting out. And everybody tells me the same thing. There's just not a lot of material available. We want to learn, but there are very few books, there are very few podcasts, there are very few things other than, G2E or ICE with the big gaming conferences. And, a lot of the younger people don't have the financial resources to be able to afford to go on their own. At a senior level, usually the casino pays the tab for travel and, hotel, food, beverage, etc. But the up and coming future generation are starved for the opportunity to learn. So I think your idea is fantastic. I'm happy to join you and help, and let me know how I can help. So I'm not sure who the moderator is.
Steve,
I imagine it's Bruce.
Steve,
so,
no, I'm not the moderator. You're the cat. You're all the respect.
You're the guest. You're a guest.
But I got to ask you first of all. I'm in Miguel and I are in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, and by the way, this is Kasia. And
nice to meet you.
And I didn't say her last name because I can't pronounce it. So
not yet, but you're still learning.
Still working on that.
I'm Kasia Golebiewska, and it's it's an honor to meet you also. Although we haven't met before yet, but as Bruce introduced me to you, I'm very impressed by your whole experience, and especially also in the marketing field, which is my expertise also. So it will be great to hear from you more.
And Kasia is in Valencia, Spain. She's from Poland, and I can't keep up with her because one minute she's in Malaga, then she's in Mallorca, and then she's traveling over to Poland. But I got to ask you, Steve, how's the weather? You're in Connecticut. How's the weather right now?
Right now, today, it's quite nice, Bruce. We had a massive blizzard last week, and I have a little dog, a little Maltese that weighs 9 pounds, and we had snow drifts that were 2 in some areas, 2.5, maybe a little bit deeper. And she always stands about 10 inches high.
I can imagine.
So I unfortunately, every time it snows, I have to go out and I have to take the snowblower and clear out a section of the lawn so she can go out and do her business. But my wife took some pictures, and it really looked funny because she's pure white, little Maltese.
I should be struck down by lightning because I knew it was cold. I just wanted to brag about how warm it was here in Punta Cana.
Yeah. But no, actually, I'm in Mystic, Connecticut, which is a great, very touristic part of the United States. I mean, there's a lot of tourism here. It's an old New England seaport village, quite nice. Great location. I'm halfway between New York City and Boston. I have 4 airports, JFK in New York, Logan Airport in Boston. We've got Hartford. We've got Providence, Rhode Island.
Wow.
Easy to travel.
Wow, it's pretty awesome. Steve, now I got to ask you one more thing. How do you pronounce your last name? Is it Karoul? Because I've been saying Karoul for as long as I've known you, but it's someone I spoke to, a friend of mine called me from Istanbul, Turkey. last week, and we were having a conversation, and I says, hey, he says, how you doing, Bruce? How are Miguel? You and Miguel? And I said, yeah, we're doing a bunch of projects. We're looking at something in Albania. And he says, oh yeah, Albania. That's the castle with Steve Karoul. And I'm like, Steve Karoul? I says, the castle, does he mean the palace? And is it Karoul or Carol?
I answer to both because there probably is not a correct pronunciation. So
good old Italian name.
I pronounce it.
Neither.
Yeah, I pronounce it Carol, but I answer to Karoul, and I've had people call me Caroni, and I mean it gets,
I guess it depends on which part of the world you are, because depending on the language of the people where you're at, they might come up with a different accent and say it's Karol or Carol.
Yeah, because it ends in Karoul. So ROUL is an ending for a lot of the, I have Lebanese friends, and some of the names end in ROUL. So again, we're a League of Nation families. My wife's from Thailand. My children have been born in different countries. So, we're pretty flexible.
Wow. You speaking of different countries, I see that you were in your executive GM, general manager, international marketing in Sun International. That was in South Africa. And you were president and CEO in Sheraton Palace Casino. Sheraton. That was where was that at? What was that like?
That was in Istanbul, Turkey. It was a casino built in an original Ottoman Empire palace that quite historical. It got hit by lightning back at the turn of the century and burned, and it's laid dormant till the Japanese largest construction company came in, and this was in the early, I guess 80s, but they put 185 million into it, sort of rebuilt most of it, and then the Japanese economy went upside down, and the royal family, the sovereign fund from Abu Dhabi came in and finished the project for another 185 million. And because of the sensitivity of gambling, they did not want any ownership in the casino. So we actually bought the casino from another company that was in there first, and then we did a renovation. And
is it still there, Steve?
No, the government changed. After we opened, about a year and a half after we opened, and they closed. There were 93 casinos in Turkey, and literally overnight they closed the entire industry. So it put over 100,000 people out of work. But the Sheraton Palace, the hotel, is still there. And Condé Nast, the travel magazine, when I was there, was ranked as the number 3 hotel in the entire world. It was managed by Kempinski. And our casino was ranked as one of the top 10 small casinos in the world.
Wow, that's awesome.
And all those casinos are still closed, or?
Yes.
Wow.
It was a change where a fundamentalist government came in, and gaming was not acceptable, and they literally, the first act that they did was to close the industry. So a number of them moved to Cyprus. There's a number of the Turkish casinos were in in Istanbul and Antalya and other cities in Turkey prior to that, but they relocated to Cyprus, and then a lot of the staff that worked in the casino industry ended up all around the world. I mean, I had people that worked for me in Singapore at the Marina Bay Sands that came from.
Bay Sands. That's an amazing structure. You were there from the beginning.
Yeah. I was actually working in Macau, and then got transferred to Singapore, and we were just beginning the actual construction. All of the design plans were made and everything. So I was there through the opening, and then for about probably 9 months after it opened. But I watched them hoist all those giant steel girders up, and then the Sky Park that went on top had to be brought up in 3 sections, and it had to be these giant cranes, because this thing weighed hundreds of tons. And we had, at the center section, we was bringing it up. We were really nervous because there was a typhoon coming to Singapore, and we got it up and in place just in time. Otherwise, that could have been a real disaster.
It must have been a hell of an experience watching that grow from nothing to what it is today. It's one of the marvels of the gaming world, especially in Asia. Steve, like in all your experiences throughout the world, you've been through different types of regulations and and connotations from the gaming world. How do you compare that to the U.S. side of the business? It's different types of business. The operations are a little bit different, even though they're all geared to the same, towards the same end. Try to acquire as many high-end gamblers as possible. Is there any big differences between the international side of the business and the domestic in the U.S.?
It's a good question, Miguel, and I usually answer it very simply. I've done business now in over 125 countries, and I've probably been in and out of more casinos than just about anybody I know. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And the ugly.
I would say, how old are you? Jeez.
No ages, please.
No, but
getting younger every day.
And I got into the industry purely by accident. So I have no regrets. I've had a great run, and I've enjoyed it. Made many friends all around the world. But to answer your question, it's the industry is black, white, and there is some gray in the middle. So it depends on which country you're talking about. Because I think from when I first started in the late 70s, and Miguel, I know you and I started about the same time.
Yes.
The industry's changed a lot. And I would say the United States is very, very highly regulated. But yet there have been a number of problems. There have been a number of casinos that have gone bankrupt. There have been all kinds of issues. But in other countries, I would say a lot of the countries were unstructured, unregulated, except for a few in Europe and Australia and places like that. But over the last 40 years, what's happened is because of mostly, AML and money laundering and anti-terrorism funding and all of that, the industry is sort of pulled together to self-regulate in some countries and, be, heavily regulated in others. So I would say it's an industry that's gone from a very quasi-regulated on a global basis to now a semi pretty well regulated industry around the world. There are still pockets where there are casinos that are unregulated, and there's still a lot of issues. And again, I've seen them, but I think they're on.
Creates a job for somebody, right?
Yeah, and the other thing you have to understand that with the AML, with the banks, everything goes through clearinghouses, and today. And I've been to a lot of seminars, but there are supercomputers that literally track every single bank transaction. So,
yes,
it's, and the big concern today is the cryptocurrency. I mean, because that's something that is just coming into the spotlight.
Speaking of, are there any casinos that are accepting cryptocurrency right now that are out there?
There are a couple of small ones, but it hasn't caught on yet. And I think it's something
it probably will.
Do you see it? Do you see it going towards that end? Do you see it many casinos eventually will go into crypto? Also, I could see Macau being one of the first ones to jump into it. I can see some of the island places here in South America jumping into it, but the States will probably be the last. And and they'll probably try to stop it because it's going to affect their businesses. They see that they cannot get into it, and other places will. This is going to affect me.
Sure.
So
well, there was an article.
Be a little forcible there.
There was an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that the U.S. government actually made some arrests, and there was a cryptocurrency heist back in 1996, I think it was, for some huge amount of money, and what's happened because of the appreciation of it, that was worth that amount of stolen bitcoins was valued today at $3.2 billion. And so the federal government has a task force that specializes in cryptocurrencies. And my youngest son is actually going to university majoring in cybersecurity. And so before, everybody thought that crypto was, you couldn't track it, that it was, totally invisible. But evidently this is a wake-up call for all of these thieves and hackers, because the government has now perfected ways of tracking it, and they've arrested these computer experts that did that. So I've seen now where some online gaming sites are starting to accept crypto and take play in crypto. I've seen a couple of land-based casinos that are trying to take it, but I think it's still in its infancy.
Yeah,
but
it's already very much established. Like this cryptocurrency.
I will equate it the same. You remember, like 30, 40 years ago, credit cards.
Yeah,
exactly.
People were leery about credit cards. I mean, why do I need a piece of plastic to go and do a transaction? I got cash in my pocket. And many places didn't want the credit cards because there were fees attached to it. But then they realized that if I don't take credit cards, I'm losing great amount of business out there. So everybody started introducing it. And now you got places that they still take the cash, but the governments have realized that the way to track every single transaction and the way to make sure that they get their share in taxes is with a credit card.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, in South America, you go to some restaurants and when you ask for the check, they ask you how you're going to pay. And you ask why? Because if you pay with a credit card, I'll charge you everything. But if you're going to pay me cash, I'll take 10% of it and I won't charge you the tax. Oh, so here's the cash.
Yeah, but
it's a black mark.
It is.
Then you pay the tax like as much as you want. I mean,
the biggest problem I see for the casinos with crypto is volatility, and that's going to be a major problem because here you're taking a payment that might be valued at X, and the customer checks out 4 days later,
and it's more valued.
The crypto's dropped
more,
15% or something like that.
But still, I would say, for instance, I'll give somebody credit, $100,000 in credit, and he loses it, and then he says, "Can I pay you with crypto?" I say, "So yes, you can. Remember that I will take the value of the crypto the day of the payment, not as of today."
Correct.
It's the day of the payment. So
are you going to
within 15 days?
Are you going to give him change though, Miguel?
Am I going to give him what?
Are you going to reimburse him the amount over?
No, because he's going to pay you that day.
Right.
He's going to pay you 100,000 value of that.
You know what I mean, Steve?
Yeah. Well, what about the customer that comes in and says, "I'm going to wire transfer you, or I'm going to bring in Bitcoins, and I'm going to make a cash deposit for 500,000 in Bitcoins." So you take the Bitcoins, and now the casino's holding them, and 3 days later the market drops. I mean,
the market drops.
Yeah,
really volatile.
There's going to have to be a lot of back and forth figuring out a system, because we could say, okay, you bring me 100,000 in crypto. What we're going to do is we're going to cash it out today, 100,000. I'm going to convert it to you as $100,000, which you will play with. Now, it's up to you. Remember, in 3 days, this would drop. So in 3 days, when you win, let's say you win, now you got 200,000 altogether. We're going to purchase $200,000 in crypto for you at the moment of your departure, and then wire that to you. Then whatever transaction after that, it's up to you.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Hey, Steve, I was thinking, that conversation I was having with that person in Istanbul, we were mentioning Albania. You had some interest apparently in Albania with the big project that was coming, or in Albania?
Yeah, it was very interesting. This is it's a couple that I met. They were they're in the energy business. They're the largest supplier to NATO countries of
and they're in the capital, right?
They're in Tirana.
Tirana, okay.
And but Bessem is the husband is an architect by education. Very, very creative individual, and so is Elizabeth. And so his dream was to build a palace. So they're into real estate as well, and they purchased land on the highest point that overlooks the capital city of Tirana. But it's a strategic, great location. It's 10 minutes from the international airport, 15 minutes to downtown center city Tirana, and about 40 minutes going left to the port city of Durrës. And that's where all the ferry boats come in for all the tourists coming into Albania. And Albania is, a really very rich touristic country with so many different things to do and see and shopping and whatever. So they get all the ferries coming in from, from Italy in particular, but also they come from, Greece and many other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So just recently, in the last 2 months, there's been one of the largest development companies from Abu Dhabi.
UAE, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is going to rebuild the port city of Dar es Salaam, and it's going to spend, I think, $2.5 billion.
Wow.
And so the master plan is spectacular. So Elizabeth and Bessem, in addition, half of Amadeus Palace is built. It's already up and constructed. It's where they were going to build a beach club.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with the beach club, they would also be able to run a satellite casino under their license. And, so I think it's a great project. We're looking now for a strategic partner to help finish the project for them.
That's like the new Europe now, right?
It is. And that's the way the gentleman, he has a great videotape. That's the way he describes it. This is going to be the new Europe. And that's why we decided to invest $2.5 billion here. And I mean, going to be massive marina. All the big mega yachts can come in there, sort of like a Monte Carlo.
Do you think it would be as massive as an attraction as Macau was? I think was Russia's nearby border, and there's high-end gamblers in that area, right?
I don't think anything will ever replicate Macau. The Chinese propensity for gaming and the sheer numbers. But I think it's going to be a massive project. It's going to change the dynamics within the European market because
Steve, and as once you are building a new casino like this, for example, in Albania, how Bruce asked you if it will be a huge success, like how you are acquiring new customers, how you are building the base, to create such a success. Because the great part are the clients, right? So
it's an excellent question. And my whole career, a lot of it, I've marketed what people said were impossible destinations to sell. And Albania, unfortunately, has a checkered past, but they have a new government. And I actually, when I was there, we met with many of the ministers, and these people are educated. They're very sincere. They really are working overtime to change perception and change the government. The regulators were open-minded, very supportive, and very proactive. They said,
so they are kind of allowing the business to grow. So they're not putting the boundaries. So this is a plus.
But to answer your question, when I marketed, for example, South Africa or marketed Istanbul, Turkey, tough sells. I mean, Istanbul, Turkey, unfortunately, there was a movie many years ago called Midnight Express. And it was about a tourist that was accused of trying to smuggle antiquities out of Turkey, which is a federal offense. He was arrested and thrown into a Turkish prison. And it was a horrible movie. I mean, it just did more damage for Turkey and the tourism and everything because, it's just brutal jail guards. So every time I would call somebody to say, well, we've got a beautiful casino in Istanbul, Turkey, and they says, what? Are you crazy? It's too dangerous. And I'd have to.
It was a very graphic movie,
Yeah, very graphic.
What was the name of it? What was it?
Midnight Express.
Oh, yeah.
It was the movie of the year, I believe, in 76.
Kasia, you don't remember that, Kasia?
Well, no, I don't remember, but I can imagine that in this case, it would be pretty hard to draw people to such a.
Let me make it clear, Steve. Not to get off track, but on our trailer for Cheques Play podcast, we have a part in there about casino memories, and there's a picture of Miguel and Willie Mays. And I understand her not knowing who Willie Mays is. She's from Poland, But there's a picture with me with Omar Sharif back in 1992 or something.
No. What was that? That was in 88 that he came to the show.
About 88. Yeah, so she didn't know who that was. I said, well, ask your mother. She'll know who he is, right? So,
but what I did is, and Kasia, just to answer your question quickly, there was a lot of competition.
I can imagine.
and
not only within the casino, but it's in general, it's an entertainment business. So like all the entertainment activities can be like a competition also. So how do you draw attention?
So what I did is I concentrated and I focused on creating unique special events. And so in every country that I went to that I thought was a tough sell, I never ever marketed gambling. Because that's what everybody else was marketing. But I knew who my target audience was, and I knew who I wanted to market to. So then I would custom build unique special events, but target the people that I wanted that I knew were gamblers. So, for example, in the late 70s, I was hired by Caesars, and so Caesars Palace had a reputation of being the mecca of high limit gaming in Las Vegas.
They were the kings of high limit.
The top.
So at that point in time, Terry Lanny was the president. We wanted to start the international marketing and really expand it. So I was one of the vice presidents, and so we didn't really have a structure. And I have pictures, actually, of the first international marketing department. We sat in a back room, no windows. We had 4 of these little tiny typing tables as desks. We shared telephones. I mean, we didn't even have a secretary. But I had one guy in charge of Asian marketing, one in charge of Middle East, one in charge of Latin America, and I was the administrator. And so this was in Atlantic City, and we had the same setup in Las Vegas, and we had Caesars Tahoe. But we began, and so we started going out, to different trade shows. And so my idea was that instead of let the other people focus with the rifle scope and just go one-on-one trying to, invite individual gamblers. And I said, this is going to take us forever. It'll take 100 years to build a viable database. So I came up with something called the perfect circle marketing strategy. And so what I figured was that in every country, you're going to have general sales agents or top travel agents. And those are the ones that know their customer base. So what I would do is I hooked up with a couple of the leading airlines, and initially I got turned down. I mean, because you were like looking for partners to advertise through them as a yes. So I, for example, I got turned down by American Airlines, got turned down by you name them all. And we printed everything. We printed $50,000 worth of brochures, and we had everything ready to go. And at the last moment, they pulled the plug and said that we're not going to do the program because, there's some negative connotations with gambling and blah, blah, blah. I said, wait a minute, everything's ready. So finally, I had another fellow I met in New York City with KLM. And so KLM is one of the, smallest countries, but their airline flies 6 continents and 90 countries and 196 cities. So what we did is in every city we used the airline general manager or resident manager in that city who prearranged 3 appointments for me. One, I wanted to know who was the best travel agent for the Asian market because I knew propensity of Asians to gamble. I wanted to know who was the travel agent for the whatever country, if it was the Middle East or Latin America or whatever, for the wealthy, let's say the affluent people in that country, and then for the top business leaders in that country. So sometimes I would fly. I remember one time I had 3 meetings in one day in 3 different countries, but in every instance they had pre-qualified who were the best people for me to meet. And so some of them, the doors opened. They met me at the door of the airplane. We went into the terminal. We went into a private meeting room somewhere, and we had the meeting. And boom, I was back on the plane flying to the next country. But we covered the world, and we built a base of basically travel agents who knew their customers. And then we had to come up with incentives. So I actually had a program where we incentivized, and we paid a commission to the travel agents based on gambling. And the program took off really well. I actually have in my file copies of which I kept for memory, but I got sanctioned by the gaming board. And so,
yeah. And like one thing, because like you said, like at the beginning, you said like very interesting thing, like you have kind of changed the strategy of attracting clients like to the casinos, and you said like about that you're attracting this through not really through the gaming, but through organizing interesting, entertaining events. Like, could you tell more about this?
yes, for example, in Istanbul, Turkey, which again was a hard sell. What we had to do is we did two things. We had one was what I called piggyback marketing, and so piggyback marketing was basically you invite the customers to come to Turkey, but that's the first stop on the trip. So we always, on every trip, we had a second stop. So the first stop might be Hong Kong, Istanbul. And then Istanbul, the next stop would be London. And we'd team up with a casino in London, and we'd get theater tickets. So we'd get tickets to sporting events, so things like that. And then we would fly back to Hong Kong. The next trip might be Thailand, Istanbul, maybe Milan for clothes shopping for the ladies. And, and then
they still do that, by the way. They still have those incentives for the wives and things when they travel.
Oh, that's a big part. That's a big part of the gaming operation. I mean, you had I remember when I was in Punta del Este, I had a lady just dedicated to do what they called the ladies program. So whenever we wanted to keep the husbands busy at the table and the ladies away from them so they could have fun at the table. So we created special events for the ladies. But Kasia, just bringing you around to see something that how far the casinos have done important things for customers. I believe this is one of Steve's ideas at the time when Caesars brought the Concorde to Atlantic City, and they flew their best 50 customers because the Concorde only fitted 100 people.
That was the Sands, Miguel. Was it Caesars?
Sands did it first, but Caesars did it too. Caesars did it too. I don't know if you were there at the time. Might have been after you left, but the Sands did that, and then Caesars did it. So imagine what would it cost back in those days to get one Concorde to come from France or England, land in Atlantic City, keep it there overnight, so the next day it could fly out with 100 people, 50 top customers and their wives or guests, whoever that might have been. And it would have cost a serious, tremendous amount of money, but the casinos did it. And little by little, that idea grew into the casinos that they had to do unique special events to attract the high-end customer. And,
what kind of
still to this day we're doing.
Like what kind of events these are?
Okay, I'll break it down even a little further for you, because the Concorde event was fantastic, but as Miguel says, cost an absolute fortune. So let's take now a small casino in Europe or someplace else that just doesn't have that type of budget. So what I did is when we brought people in, let's go back to Istanbul, because that's a good example. When you know your customers that are coming, I had a group of ladies who were coming in, and I knew these ladies loved diamonds and jewelry. And so they go every year. They're from Thailand. They would fly to Antwerp, and they would go shopping for diamonds and emeralds and everything else.
Kasia's shaking her head, yes, over here.
But they also enjoyed gambling, and so did their husbands. So we actually brought a group to Istanbul, and I had to come up with something different. So I went to the International Bazaar, which is 1,000 years old and 1,000 shops. It's incredible. But also one of the oldest jewelry stores was there, and they specialized in these old antique rose-cut diamonds, but they were like 6, 7, 8 carat diamonds. And these are what the Ottoman emperors, the sultans, and everybody used to have hundreds of years ago. And so they're around as antiques. The only problem is in those days, they didn't have the ability to really cut diamonds like they do today. So they didn't have as many facets. So they really didn't shine and sparkle, but they were big. So they were collector items. And so the ladies were coming, and I told them about the diamonds, and they got all excited. And that was part of the reason
I can imagine how excited they are
to fly from Antwerp to Istanbul. And I knew they were going to play. So I met the owner of the jewelry store, and I told him, look, I want to develop a sort of a fantasy, and entertainment for the ladies. I says, but, I think, it'll be good for you. It'll be good for me for the casino. So here's the deal. I want to treat them into the private salon, bring out the apple tea and all the little cookies. And then, the staff comes out and on trays, it's a presentation, almost like they do at Tiffany's in New York. But, they present each piece, and the people touch it and feel it and try it on and everything. And it's a fun day. So here's the deal. You say, we've got a special deal going with the casino at the Chiron Palace Casino. And whatever you see that you like, you just put down a small deposit and I will hold it for you. You go back, and for your few days or a week or whatever.
Interesting.
At the end of the trip, if you win, the casino's going to write me a check out of your winnings, but basically it's the casino's money. If you lose, then you have to come and pay me for it. So they said, oh, okay. So anyways, I came in, and this one lady, very, very wealthy.
Never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, so she's looking, and she picks out this beautiful emerald necklace and then this beautiful diamond ring. So the two pieces, $265,000 US dollars. So she says, Mohammed, let me understand that all I have to do is put down a small deposit, and you'll hold this until I finish in the casino. And then if I win, the casino is going to pay you for my winnings. And you're going to give me a discount, right? And he says, yes, of course, madame. And so then she takes her handbag, opens it up, takes out her wallet, and she takes out $1 US and puts it on the tray. Well, Mohammed's eyes almost popped out of his head. I'm standing behind her, and I'm just smiling and shaking my head. Yes.
I guess.
And so he says, oh, okay. And she says, and I would like a receipt, please. And so anyways, he gives her a receipt, $1 holding $268,000 worth of jewelry for Adam so-and-so. So anyways, we go back to the casino, and she's ecstatic. I mean, what made more happiness for her was showing her friends the great deal she made.
Sure.
Putting down $1.
She's still telling the story.
Exactly. So
she's still telling that story.
Back to Thailand, and I probably
Best
got
story you can have.
100 additional customers for her telling that story. So she became my unofficial advocate. And so what I've done, I've developed lots of these different unique
experience, in fact, for the customer, I would say. It's a unique experience for the customers.
So Steve,
so I've done it all around the world at different things. Yeah. I mean, and sometimes, today everything is even beyond that. Today is social media.
You're reading my mind, Steve. I'm thinking about, how does that play in now with the millennials and the super uber rich younger generation? Whether you're going to have an event, with Call of Duty tournament or something like that on the PlayStation 4 or something. I mean, no offense, but there is a different thinking now and a different acceptance, a different value on things.
Yes.
And so how does that play in? And what do you think? Where do you think the future will be with that type of customer? And a lot of our customers have died off, and that's the interesting thing. And now there's more interactive slot machines and iGaming and things like that they're involved in. They're very, very interactive. In table games, thank God they're still surviving, and because they're the old generation is a generation that is still viable and that has a good value to it, right? Theoretically in the industry. So there has to be something that is going to change with that type of marketing.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And I think the industry is going to change. I look at what's happening now with
online gaming and things. Yeah.
Well, sports betting in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just concerned is everybody's making such a lot of noise on how great this is and the big volume, but there's not a huge profit margin because the expenses are so high. And so, and I wonder what's going to happen to a lot of these $1 billion.
But the volumes are so high. I mean, even at a penny, that the volumes are, there's just millions of people that are playing.
But Steve is right in one sense. They're spending so much money in marketing. For instance, they'll grab a guy like Shaquille O'Neal and give him $100 million. They sign up Shaquille for $100 million. They'll sign LeBron for $200 million. And when you get down to it, the industry is billions of dollars, but they're spending most of that money in advertising or buying licenses and getting into a different market. And there is not that much profit. The profit on sports betting right now is somewhere around between 2 and 4%.
Right.
So there is.
And so that bankroll that could be used for, let's say, other functions in the casino, either paying for services, rooms, food, and beverage, or paying, playing more profitable games in the casino on slot machines or, or some table games, is disappearing. It's evaporating. So it's going towards the online sports betting.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think that this is our premier date to launch our podcast. And we have a great person gentleman and professional in our casino industry that is highly respected, Steve. And I'm going to have to definitely do a follow-up.
Well, we have to get a commitment from Steve.
Yes.
That he's going to not only that he's going to come back with us, he's going to be
our regular guest.
A regular guest, our consultant, somebody that we can count on to come and be with us from time to time and spend some time and give us a lot of those insights and stories that only he can do the way that he can do it.
Very soon. But Steve, we got to thank you so much. It's been an honor, and thanks for agreeing. This was at the last minute. Promise to come back and be with us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love your format. And as I say, I think this is going to catch on very rapidly. I think you're going to develop a huge following.
Well, we hope so.
People want to learn, and this is a great way, because this is an unstructured educational platform that people can listen, they can enjoy, they can have some fun, they have some laughs. But at the end of the day, they're going to learn maybe some little tricks. I mean, I made a little agenda, but just sitting at my desk here before we called. I mean, we didn't even touch any of it, but I'm
That's why you have to come back. You have to come back.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen.
Keep it for the next time.
I knew that was going to happen. I knew that. Yeah.
I'm giving away all the secrets, the secret sauce. But I at my age, I'm getting ready to wind down. I want to retire in the next couple of years, and I don't mind sharing, because if it can help. And again, as I say, the younger people. I mean, they're the future of the casino industry. And I
always say I'm getting younger every day, and you
Steve, from my side, because I'm very new, in the casino business, so I know very little, but like all those topics related to marketing are very interesting for me. And like what you've said today, it made me thinking even that the casino business is so rich, and also in these terms that it's so caring about the customer, that other industries can learn from the casino business. It's amazing. Yes. I'm really surprised, and it's great.
Yes. You're right. I actually had a recruiter from one of the largest banks in the world. I won't mention it, but basically we're looking outside of the box, because here's the banks that handle billions and billions of dollars, but their customer service is mediocre for most of them.
Exactly. They are not providing the unique experience, as you said.
So here's the president of this bank who says, we really need to find somebody that can bring some fresh new ideas. And we went back and forth for several interviews, and it was a great job. But the problem is I would have to move and relocate. And we just, through personal reasons, we didn't want to move.
So, but Steve, listen, we're going to have you back for sure. It's been great talking to you today. This is checksplay.com, Checksplay Podcast. One of the greatest things that we're anxious to do is to speak with people like Steve Karoul.
Carol.
Stephen K. And you know what? If you think about it, you are going to be a very tough act to follow, because it's just such a big package, great package of information. and experiences that are amazing. And we're going to listen to this over and over and so forth. And all of us, and we can't thank you enough. And one of the things that Kasia says in the trailer is that how she's so anxious to learn from the casino experts. Looking at her expressions, I see what you were just talking about, educating younger generation.
Hungry for more. I'm hungry for more.
Yes. For you, it's 10 a.m. where you are. It's 11 a.m. where we are. And it's 4 p.m. where Kasia is in Valencia, Spain. Exciting afternoon, exciting morning. And we want to wish you the best. We can't wait to speak with you again, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us, and see you soon, my friend.
Okay.
Always a pleasure.
All the best. Good luck.
Take care.
Bye.